Welcome ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at this Honda Fireblade from 2005, the first CBR 1000RR. There is plenty of competition for this bike, but in the liter bike fraction the Fireblade was and still is one of the top contenders coming from Japan. It is the last raw Honda Fireblade. I'll show you the motorcycle and some of its functionalities. Let's have a look. The original Fireblade, the CBR 900RR, shook the racing world in 1992. The top priority in development was weight reduction by shaving off every pound possible. The first 900cc Fireblade was lighter than all the 600cc bikes commercially available at the time. Honda didn't and still doesn't set the goal for this model in maximum power, but in maximum handleability, to be as fast as possible around the track. This is a member of the 7th generation of the CBR lineup, the first CBR 1000RR of them all. Since 2004 the Fireblade comes with a 1 liter displacement. The motor code is SC57. This bike was the second and last production year of the SC47 model without the facelift. From 2006 and 2007 there was a facelift model available with a slightly different front. Characteristic was the new underseat exhaust, which doesn't get damaged when the rider falls, but after an hour or so of riding it's roasting your balls. The design of the bike was inspired by the GP race bike, which was designed for aerodynamics and sporty riding, not necessarily ergonomics. The facelifted bikes from 06 and 07 look very much like this one, but the lower side panel on the 04 and 05 model is more square and it's got a bulkier appearance. Compared to the 2004 model year, only the color choice changed to the next year. The famous Repsol paint job was first introduced in 2005, so be careful. Anybody who sells you a 2004 original Repsol CBR 1000RR is taking you for a ride. Let's have a look at the dash. The dashboard is showing you the engine speed on a central gauge. Velocity can be read in the bottom right LCD display, and there is a simple trip computer allowing you to record 2 trips. You can set it with these 2 buttons. You can change the trip, and here you can reset it to 0. Then you have your lights for the indicators, the lights for the gas fill and neutral. With the HISS, even a security system is on board, only allowing matching factory keys to start the bike. There is no fuel gauge, but an adequate reserve. In case you're racing, there is an adjustable rev light right there. Otherwise you got your lights, pass switch, the turn signals, the horn, the kill switch and the power switch. Here you see there's nothing very fancy, all very basic. Then there is a hydraulic clutch, hydraulic brakes and cable operated throttle. Both levers here are adjustable. The 4-piston caliper front brakes are strong. The 2 caliper rear brakes still manages to lock up the rear tire nicely if you want to. There is no ABS. Road contact is managed by a 17-inch 120mm front tire and a 17-inch 190mm rear tire. The wheelbase is 1412mm with a 66-degree steering angle. The engine is a 998cc water-cooled inline-4 dual overhead cam engine with 4 valves per cylinder. It's got fuel injection. Compared to the previous engine, the crankshaft, main shaft and countershaft are positioned closer together in a triangle. This shortened the engine a lot. The trick was introduced by Yamaha before. The shorter engine was placed further forward, and in addition the cylinders were sitting more straight to have a better cooling between the motor and the front wheel. This results in a more front-heavy weight distribution and allows for a longer swing arm at the rear. This makes the bike less wheelie prone and better accelerating. The maximum power output of the CBR is rated at 171 horsepower, which is 126 kilowatts, at 11,250 RPM. And the max torque at 115 Newton meters at 8,500 RPM. The torque curve flattens considerably from about 7,000 RPM. Generally, this motor has a good longevity. 50,000 kilometers are no problem to buy. Compared to newer models, there is a bit more low-end torque available in this model. A few bolt-ons and the tune can increase power. A bigger motor means a heavier motor in this case, which added around 11 kilograms to the weight. This motorcycle weighs 211 kilograms or 465 pounds wet, I guess. Some sources list less. The fuel capacity is 18 liter. The reserve light goes on at 3.5 liters. Gas consumption is rated at 5.5 to 6 liter per 100 kilometers, so you can make a nice trip on it. The CBR got a 6-gear transmission, standard chain drive, and a wet clutch. The standard exhaust on the CBR is quite heavy and not as noticeable as some people might like it. Hence this one is fitted with a Scorpion exhaust. Honda used an aluminium frame for this motorcycle, of course bearing weight reduction in mind. The SC57 has an electronic steering dampener, which helped the engineers to improve stability compared to the predecessors. The famous kickback accelerating out of corners of previous models was gone. Former models had shorter swing arms, which makes the SC57 more stable at acceleration than them. The adjustable inverted front forks are a bit soft at times, but the ride is generally quite firm and precise. Weight distribution is 52 front, 48% rear. It is obvious when you hop on. The CBR is super light. It feels like it's made from plastic. It accelerates in 3.2 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, which is 0.1 seconds faster than a Tesla P100D. You feel the bike when riding, almost sitting over the front wheel. It's like if you're in the bike, not on the bike, if you like to have this comparison done. The stability and precision of the CBR are phenomenal. There was no ABS, which came with the next model and set back track times everywhere initially. This bike is a great basis for a track tool. It cuts through corners like a scalpel. The seat height is 828 millimeters or 32.3 inches. There is just enough padding for the rider. The seating position is uncompromised, although the CBR must be one of the more comfy liter bikes. I am 1.75 meters tall, and after 2 hours on the bike I need a longer rest for sure. My knees, back and wrists hurt. Let's not talk about the pillion comfort. This seat is not made for longer rides. Storage space is limited to a minimum in the trunk, and it gets hot from the exhaust, so there's no space for Swiss chocolate. There are hooks for luggage straps though. Here we go. just enough space to fit some tools and some booklets. The question, is this bike a beginner's bike? I can definitely answer with no. This is not recommended for beginners. If you don't know what you're doing on such a bike and pull the throttle a bit too much in the wrong moment, you will kill yourself. Let's talk about problems with this model. If you brake hard with the front brake, the whole front can stutter a bit. I observed this myself when doing a few emergency brake tests. This could be due to the weaker springs in the front forks. They tend to block when they hit the bottom. The alternator was exchanged on warranty on some bikes. The engines rarely have problems burning any or leaking oil. If the bike you're looking at is leaking, don't buy it. It's not a Harley after all. The service interval is 6,000 kilometers on this bike, and the oil filter change is required after 12,000 kilometers, which is about double of what the regular Panigale gets. The prices for decent used models in Switzerland sits between 5,000 and 6,000 Swiss francs, which makes it range at the bottom range of used race bikes. There are quite a few of them around still, so they are cheap to buy. But I think prices might still fall a bit for the next 5 years or so, and then rise again, because it's, after all, a bike that's not made anymore in this fashion. Let's listen to the engine for a moment. It sounds pretty mean. Let's start her up. Make sure she's in neutral. Quite a mean burbling sound. This is the bike for the weekend warrior. Cheap to repair, no ride rates, on the edge to new school bikes, but not quite yet. This makes it a wonderful and fast ride, but be careful what you're getting yourself into. That's it. Thanks for watching, and as always, ride safe, my friends.